Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow.
Welcome back to another episode of Lone Star College Football. We've got Red River Week, official Hate OU Week.
Hate Week. Hate Texas Week.
We brought Jason in from Hall of Fame College Football. Honestly, Texas fan or not, you have to check out his content. He goes live pretty regularly. He's very interactive with his fan base, and he just puts out great content all around. Jason, it's good to have you on the show, man.
Hey, man, thanks for having me back on the show. Appreciate the kind words about us, even though we are kind of enemies this week. I'm glad to be on the show. It's always fun to come on with you guys, man.
Oh, yeah, it's great to have you. Before we get into the game, before we dive into these stats, we're going to talk about a giveaway we're doing. We have a signed Earl Campbell jersey, burnt orange jersey. It's got some stats from his Heisman years, 1977 year. Comes with a certificate of authenticity, and we'll show you on the back the signature as well. Wow. And all you have to do, subscribe to the channel, like this video, leave a comment with your score prediction, and whoever is closest will win the jersey. We'll mail it to you, and if we have multiple people who get the right guess, then we'll put your name in a hat or a generator, and we'll get a random win out of that. So we'll talk about that a little bit more later on. But getting into the juicy part of the video, man. Texas opened up, well, preseason, the spread on this was like 7 or 7.5.
It was. Yeah, I think even last week it was still around that.
Was it? See, right after the Texas-Kansas game, the first time I saw the spread on ESPN, it was at 5. And it's jumped all the way up from what I've been able to see to 6.5 now. So maybe Vegas knows something the rest of us don't. Texas does have a couple of key injuries that we're waiting to get some more info on. Tight end Jatavion Sanders and number 1 cornerback on the outside, Ryan Watts, with a big, I think he's like 6'3", has a huge frame, very versatile. This is going to be a heck of a matchup.
Guy, right? Definitely your best cover guy. He's really good.
I have to agree. And that's going to be a key matchup because Oklahoma's got some receivers, most notably as far as QBR rating goes. Drake Stoops, when targeted, is one of y'all's best targets. Tell us some more about your receiver room this year.
Yeah, I think that Drake is he's kind of your safety valve for Dylan Gabriel. You haven't gotten a ton out of the tight end position, even with Austin Stogner coming back this season. I think you've really Drake and Dylan have kind of built a trust up there, but as far as, you know, who's their most important receiver, I think it's spread out amongst a few guys when it comes to Oklahoma. You've got Jalil Farouk, who's been, you know, kind of the heir apparent to, you know, to some of the guys that you've had over the last few years there, you know, guys like, I mean, some of the just number ones. You've been expecting Jalil to kind of come through. You know, Theo Weiss was there last year. He was one of their top guys. Of course, you had Marvin, you know, but he's one of those guys that you know, in space, he's tough to get down. Then you've brought in Andrel Anthony from Michigan, a speed guy that has been a big time get. You know, if he gets open, he's going to go to the house with it as well. And then on top of that, you know, this season, you know, to me, Oklahoma is definitely, the receiver room has been really the bright spot for OU. I would tell you that when you look at it, it's any number of guys. If you shut down Farouk, then you're going to get a lot of Andrel. The last couple of weeks, you've seen them really keying on Andrel because of his speed. And so in that, you know, in that vein of it, then, you know, you turn around and you get a little bit more. Well, in the last couple of weeks, you have seen Stoops kind of become a target, particularly down in the red zone and in the third down situations, things like that. And so that's where, hold on just a second.
He does have 4 touchdowns. He's your second leading.
He does. He had a touchdown last week. Definitely had a touchdown last week. But you even guys like Jaden Gibson, who's a sophomore, true sophomore coming in. He's a 6'5" guy. He's got a couple of touchdowns as well. He had a big time touchdown this last week. I think that the best, really the absolute probably best player on the field when he gets on the field is Nick Anderson. They've been calling him Mr. Anderson around OU the last few weeks. The guy seems to, when he gets a hold of the football, he's another speed guy, but he's a great athlete. He's playing that wide out position along with Farouk. So that they're kind of, you know, switching back and forth. But then you've got guys like Jacquez Petaway, who's a freshman that they're hoping to get a lot out of. Brennan Thompson, who you know a lot about. He caught a couple of balls this past week.
Really fast.
Yeah, the guy was running 10-2 100s and stuff, you know, at Texas. So, you know, he's coming in and there's some guys that you have to concern yourself with. They're very deep at the position, you know. As I said, Andrew Anthony's had a couple of touchdowns in the college football playoff for Michigan in the past few years. These guys are where it was a question mark coming into the season. It's proven to be probably the strongest room on the field, where obviously I think that while there's still some opportunity for the running back room to be a strength, they haven't really proven to be a strength just yet.
Well, Nick Anderson is interesting looking at. Just he's got 10 receptions and 5 touchdowns, so he's definitely somebody that we're gonna have to watch. And at a 6'4" frame, having a guy like Ryan Watts that can be manned up, because we have been running a little bit of man this year, is going to definitely be beneficial for us. And Texas, we're no slouch in the receiving game either. You know, and that's not even for Oklahoma. I think that was probably a little bit less expected coming from y'all. We've got AD Mitchell.
There's just a lot of questions. You knew that there was talent in the room. You just didn't. It wasn't a lot of proven talent, right?
Right. We've got Xavier Worthy, AD Mitchell, Sanders, and Jay Witt. That's the first 4. Jonte, he's a true freshman. He's got a couple catches, and I mean, he's got 4 for 103, which week 5 going into week 6 for a true freshman. That's considering he's averaging almost 26 yards per reception. That's pretty solid. Right. We talked a little bit about this in your video. I do want to touch on it here. It does seem like this could be a little bit different of a Red River matchup where we actually get to see the run game be potentially the most important aspect of the game. Tell us a little bit about y'all's run game, where y'all have struggled a little bit, and what gives you hope going into the matchup.
Yeah, I think that the biggest problem with the run game for OU is, I mean, you've had coming into the season, the expectation was that it was going to be, you know, Javante Barnes, Gavin Sawchuk were going to be your 2 guys that were going to kind of basically rotate for the most part. In reality, it's been Tawi Walker and Marcus Major who have done most of it. You had Javante had a knee surgery there during the spring. He hasn't really seemed to be. He's played a little bit, but it doesn't seem like he's all the way healthy. At times, I think he's still a little nicked up. You had some of the same stuff that happened with Gavin Sawchuk, and that was the same thing that you saw with him last season in his redshirt year. He came in and played in the Cheez-It Bowl against Florida State. Looked really good, had a couple of touchdowns. He's got a lot of speed, but you haven't really seen either one of them get on the field a whole lot. So that's, you know, they've been working with different mixtures of these guys. They've even had Hicks and Hollywood Smothers, the 2 freshmen, have mixed in a little bit over the first few games. But you're really starting to see, I think Tawi Walker has basically established himself. Him along with Marcus Major kind of are your main guys at the moment. I think most Oklahoma fans would rather that it wasn't those 2 guys, because they're not the guys that seem like the most electric out of the guys in the backfield. Javante Barnes, of course, being a sophomore, true sophomore out of Las Vegas, unbelievable talent. If he can get healthy, you saw him do a lot of good things. You know, with him, he was in the rotation with Eric Gray last year, and Eric Gray had a great season. He helped to kind of, you know, give them a 1-2 punch in that aspect. So far, you just haven't seen them really get it going in that part of the game. But I think it's where we talked about, we expected that to be like a really strength for the offense coming in. You've had a few injuries along the offensive line that probably has a little bit to do with that they haven't really established. You know how sometimes offensive lines just kind of got to gel when you got to mix up and move guys around a little bit.
Oh yeah.
That it takes some time every once in a while for you to get the right combination on the line. I don't know that they've necessarily done that. Now, pass blocking wise, they've done great. And they, of course, and then, of course, you've seen that probably the strength is actually where coming into the season, there was a lot of question marks about the receiving room. Now they're the strength, and the question marks are in the running back room.
Yeah.
I do think that the running game, and I think a lot of people have said this, you're going to have to establish a running game to win this game, because this is probably going to be more of a defensive game than we're used to seeing in the Red River game, at least in the last 4 or 5 years, where you've just had these high explosive offenses, right?
Yeah, that's a great point. I think we're definitely gonna see, at least in the last 2 years. I don't recall exactly in 2020 how the game went, but in the last 2 years we've had a team break 50. And I
Right.
mean, in 2021 we almost broke 50. I guess last year we didn't, but it came pretty close.
Right.
You've got to imagine, and we talked a little bit about it. Texas right now is averaging 190 something yards on the game or on the ground, and y'all are only giving up 106. Something has to break. There's no way for these two teams to match up and the statistics stay. And I
Okay,
think the
maybe they
run
are.
game,
Yeah.
I think the run game is going to be the question. But at the same time, as far as passing goes, I feel more confident about Texas this year than I did last year. Quinn has definitely shown improvement on last year, where he finished with a 50, like a 55, 56, 58, I think is what it was, percent completion percentage. He's at 66 now. I know that Dylan Gabriel he's having a heck of a season completion percentage wise, isn't he?
Yeah, he's
See,
right around 74%,
75.
75% completion percentage. He's number 1 or 2 in the country, I believe, in that one.
Right.
They've listen, the offensively in most categories, he's one of the leaders all the way around.
Yeah.
It's been a good season for Dylan. You got to look at it in terms of he's number 7 in passing yards for the season, coming in behind guys like, obviously, Michael Penix, Shador Sanders, and Caleb Williams. But, on some of the guys that are ahead of him, it'd be like, Braden Shager from Hawaii and stuff. That's a different kind of, those are a little different. But I think that he's got 15 touchdown passes, just 2 interceptions. He's added another 4 touchdowns on the ground as well. Dylan Gabriel's having a hell of a season. A lot of people give him a lot of hell from around the country, and even in the OU fan base, he catches some strays sometimes, because of the fact that he's coming in replacing Caleb Williams and guys that have won the Heisman Trophy, that you expect this dynamic play.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying he's not dynamic. I'm saying that he doesn't get compared to those guys. And so if you're not that guy, then let's face it, OU fans are freaking spoiled when it comes to quarterback play. And so when you can miss one throw and you're a bum sometimes.
It would be like, and in a sense, even though Jonathan Brooks statistically is having a really good year this season, until this past week, Jonathan Brooks was getting a lot of slack too. And that's just what happens when you have a guy like Bijan and Roschon in the backfield.
True.
It's almost impossible to replace some of this generational talent that these two offenses have gotten to see.
Well, I mean, you had Baker and then you had Kyler the next year. They both went number 1. They both won the Heisman. I mean, that's
and then you have Jalen Hurts that was still a solid core. I mean, and that was always my biggest thing about it. One of the things I hated the most is it was just like, man, if we could just get them to have a year where they have to actually develop a quarterback, and then you get Caleb Williams, and I was glad to see him leave. But either way, offensively, both these teams can score, but like you said, the defenses have stepped it up in a way that I don't know necessarily. I think both of us expected the defense to get better. I don't know if we expected this. I don't think I expected it. Losing DeMarvion,
I think you were expecting it going into the SEC at some point, that was where they have to be moving towards. I mean, when you knew
moving
that they were
towards,
going there,
But I look at it and say, I think our
it's
defense
it's kind of a nod to the portal, right? To the portal and the NIL thing. You can get some guys through your recruiting that, and Texas and Oklahoma don't have a problem recruiting anyway. But offensively, Oklahoma's recruited great. Defensively, they have not recruited well in a long time. The last 2 seasons, right now, you're looking at a third 5-star and multiple, more than double-digit top 100 defensive players that are in the last 2 classes for Oklahoma. As far as defensive linemen, you got David Stone coming in this 2024 class, along with Nigel Smith, along with Danny Okoye, along with Jaden Jackson. They have picked up blue chip. In fact, it's 5 blue chip defensive line prospects in the 2024 cycle. Obviously, they got to land them and sign them in December. But as of now, that's what it looks like. There's still an opportunity, I think, for Dominic McKinley. There's still an opportunity for possibly for the number 1 guy in the country as well. I don't even say his name right now because of the way that he did all that. But no, I think you've seen the same thing from Oklahoma or from Texas, though. They've pulled some amazing talent out of high school.
Yeah,
they're developing it well. They haven't used the portal as much, I don't think.
We haven't really
for defensive purposes, right?
Well, this year we have a starter, Jalen Catalon at safety. He's a safety coming out of Arkansas. We have Trill Carter, defensive lineman from Minnesota, and then we have Gavin Holmes, defensive back out of Wake Forest. But I think Jalen Carter's the only starter, and even then, he shares a lot of playing time with Michael Taft. Where in the trenches for us, the defensive line is still kind of a struggle, to be honest. It's the offensive line under Tom Herman. I want to say
you got a lot of young talent, though.
We do, and we're starting to finally develop. We are starting to finally develop these guys. But on the offensive line, Tom Herman, I believe, his 4-year. Oh yeah, Ethan Burke this year, his first year starting, and he's really showing up. Tom Herman only recruited 12 offensive linemen. I think it was 12 blue chip offensive linemen in his 4 years here. Coach Sark and company, I think we're on number like 18 right now.
Right. In 3 years. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and it's showing. We've recruited a SEC title worthy of that title offensive line. And it shows. It shows in our run game when you lose a guy like Bijan and the next guy's able to plug in and play. But
yeah, listen, I think that when you look at your running back situation, with obviously Jonathan Brooks, he's already over 500 yards this year. It did
597. He's almost
was Bijan even there last year at this point?
So at this point, Jonathan Brooks currently statistically is having a better year. I don't think any of us Longhorn fans would say that he is.
Not saying he's better. Not saying he's better. I'm just saying did he even have that kind of year coming in?
No, not yet. And also Jonathan Brooks is a top. He was top 5 going into last week. I imagine with how good of a game he had, he's still top 5 in 4 missed tackles in college football. So he's doing his part, even when the defender is getting to him. He's doing his part in making them make the play and consistently forcing them to not be able to make that play. So
yeah, I get it, and I think that's kind of where it's. I think that you were saying on my video earlier that you felt like whoever controlled the ground game was going to probably win. My feeling is that you almost have to have Jonathan Brooks beat you. I think they're in the entire backfield. If you're Oklahoma, the way that they've played so well, they have the number 2 scoring defense in the country at 8.5 points a game. They have done a great job. Coach Venables has going in and getting some serious help at the interior defensive line. Rondell Bothroyd came in. You had Deshaun McCullough, who was a freshman All-American a year ago at Indiana, coming in as your cheetah/edge rush guy. They did great obviously in their high school recruiting with Peyton Bowen out of Denton Guyer. And then also you had PJ Adebawari, who is a top 4 in the country defensive end. He's starting to get a lot more playing time as well. You had Trace Ford come over from Oklahoma State. Love that. He's been really good as well. Where that was a real problem a year ago, it's become a strength on defense. At the linebacker position, you've got Danny Stutzman, who has been Mr. Everything. He leads the country in tackles through the first 5 games of the season. He's had multiple games in double-digit tackles already through 5 games. These are, I would say, him and Jalen Ford are definitely going to probably be the top 2 linebackers in the Big 12 this year. They're probably go up for the Butkus Award together and All-American honors. I think that they have to be, right? Because Jalen Ford is that dude also. My feeling is that because of that receiver room, you have to make sure that with your strength in the defensive line, in the edge rushing and stuff that you're starting to see out of Oklahoma, you got to make sure that you get in Quinn Ewers' face rush him. Do not let him get a clean pocket to throw in, because if you do, that receiver room is going to make you look bad, a la Alabama. Even if you as good of a secondary as Oklahoma fans feel like we have there, and we do, Billy Bowman, you've got with Billy, and then you've got obviously Woody Washington coming back, and then you've got Peyton Bowen that's been playing very, very good. Gentry Williams has been playing very well as well. Look, their secondary is starting to look really solid. Even their freshmen in Makari Vickers and guys like Josiah Wagner, you're starting to see some good things out of them. The thing is that there's no secondary that can stand up to a receiver room like that if the quarterback has time to just stand back there and pick you apart. And we know Quinn can do that. So I feel like you have to make Jonathan Brooks beat you. You got to do it.
It is going to be interesting if y'all do continue to run that 3-3-5 defense, because that's obviously going to help in the pass game, having the 5 defensive backs on the field at all times. Right. And you were saying in your video that you'll have really fast linebackers that play that sideline to sideline position.
Right.
That
Colby
field
McKenzie,
general linebacker
Mack.
is something. So it's gonna be a heck of a matchup, especially when you've got these a coach like Sark, where for his first year, and even sometimes last year, you're like, man, he really just can't make the second half adjustments. And now it's like, dude, second half, he's lights out. And we have to see what kind of a game plan he has for Oklahoma in the first half. It's going to be a matchup. I think it could be one of the best Red River games of the decade. And man, I'm pumped. I'm excited for it.
I think we talked about this on my video, is when you take a L like that from last season. Dylan was out for the game. You end up at one point you have a freaking tight end taking snaps. It was not a good Red River game for Oklahoma. So you've been 365 days of really being pissed off about it. Look, I expect it to be a good game. I don't know that Oklahoma necessarily wins it. Obviously I'm going to pick them to win, but I do think that I think no matter what, we're going to see a really good game. I think it may be the first of 2 games. We kind of talked about that a little bit earlier, and this would be the one time that I would, if this happens, and we didn't say this on the last video, but I wanted to say this, is that, look, if Oklahoma and Texas play each other for the Big 12 championship, it is the one and only time that I would endorse the chant of SEC during the Big 12 championship game. I think that would be a must.
Yeah, especially with Sankey in attendance and Yormark failing to show up. So,
and apparently Sankey's going to be in attendance for this game, but Yormark won't be. Is that what I heard?
Yeah, that's what I've been reading, is that Yormark is not going to show up. He said, though,
what a petty dude,
from what I've read, is that if it's the Big 12 championship game and we rematch, then we'll get in the appearance that we couldn't care less about of Brett Yormark.
Yeah, I think they'd rather just hand him the trophy back, even if you win it. If you win it, you're like, yeah, we play in the SEC now.
You can have this, bud. Yeah, well, let's get into some score predictions, man. Okay. How do you see this game unfolding?
I think we talked about it a little bit before. I feel like Oklahoma is going to be really good as far as in the passing game. I hope to see them get their running game going, but we hadn't really seen it yet. So I know that they're really good with the passing game. If you've got some of the guys in the secondary they're a little nicked up, I think that's where their chances are. I feel like it's probably going to be a close game, not going to be ultra high scoring. I've got 28-17 Oklahoma in this one. I feel like it's going to be low scoring game. I would take the under on it. But I mean, it's been a long time since you guys have won 2 in a row. So I would expect Oklahoma to get this one done.
That's true. It has been a while. It's been 08 and 09 is the last time we went back to back, which is pitiful. So we've got to end that right now. Yeah, I'm gonna rock with the same score I gave you earlier at 37 or 38-27. I think that we are able to. I personally don't think y'all are going to be able to stop our run game enough to keep us from scoring a decent amount of points. However, I do tend to think that you probably have a pretty good chance as far as your defense and the passing game. Considering y'all do have talented receivers, this won't be the first time your defense have to practice against y'all's receivers. So if they're practicing against pretty elite receiving play, then I think they'll be able to stand up pretty well to our guys, especially if Sanders is out. I think our run game does it for us. I do think we win. I think we cover 38-27. That's my spread. And I do feel like it is worth mentioning just because it was great in the last video. I think it's shows a lot about you and your personality that you would wear that hat that represents the score that y'all put up last year. Hey man, kudos to you. I don't think I could have done that if I was you, man. I don't think so.
Hey, yeah. So when you actually, when you win a conference championship, when you win more than one Red River game, and or well, what did you win, like 2 in 10 years?
I'm sorry.
Then I'll start listening. You know what I mean? I don't know what you're talking about in all this.
I don't think I can hear you, man. I had to do it to you because you did it to me.
I get it.
Yeah, man. Hey.
Boomer Sooner. So, hey, I expect it to be a lot of fun. Thanks a lot for having me on your show, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. And once again, y'all make sure you check out Jason and on Twitter at BirdieManDub.
It's actually at JW_HOF now.
He changed it.
Yeah,
just changed it. I'm gonna have to update my info on your Twitter handle. Make sure y'all check him out. He's always available on these platforms. He's always talking about college football, not necessarily just Oklahoma either.
Yeah.
He puts out a lot of good college football content. He has the coach on his show. He's a Notre Dame fan, so if you're a Notre Dame fan, you can go over there for some good intel on them.
But he's a college football guy. He was a big time. In fact, he coached a lot of guys that went to Texas. He coached a lot of guys that went to Oklahoma at Dallas Skyline. Philip Roybaugh. Our show is I've said this a lot, and this includes Christian and Logan, is that we have the best creators on our show from week to week. We have a lot of dudes that come on our show that have a lot of knowledge. We try to cover everything throughout the country. Obviously, there's a lean towards Oklahoma when it comes for me. And obviously we talk a little bit of Notre Dame, but we cover it all, you know what I mean? And so we love college football to death. There's nothing better than this game, right? There's nothing better than this game. So that, again, I appreciate coming on this show and having some fun with it and stuff like that. And this is what I said it earlier. This is the best rivalry in college football. I know not everybody agrees with that, but in my eyes, there's nothing close.
They're just wrong. That just has to.
Yeah, some people are just wrong. They just don't get it.
It's the state fair, the split field. I mean, half the game you're at a home game, half the game you're at an away game.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, and it'll probably be like last year where by the end of it, there's only burnt orange in the stadium anyways, but that's neither here nor there. Hey, let me remind y'all real quick, if y'all made it to the end of this video, we do appreciate y'all. Subscribe to the channel, like this video, and leave a comment with your score prediction to be entered to win this Earl Campbell jersey. It's signed. It has a certificate of authenticity. The score prediction,
awesome
if you
jersey,
guess it
bro.
perfectly, you get the jersey. If two or however many of y'all tie, then we'll find a way to do a randomized pick of that. But Jason, appreciate you coming on the show, man. And maybe we'll have you on again for, if you're able to talk after the game, have you on for the post-game show if you're not crying too much.
Yeah, it's the only video I've ever seen of crybabies is those Texas fans outside of the Cotton Bowl. But hey, I'll be there. I think I may be at the game. I'm not positive that I'll be at the game just yet, but we're going to be doing a lot of content throughout the week at CFB-pod on YouTube. We'd love to have you guys out. We're going to do some live content as well.
Awesome.
So we're going to have some fun throughout the week, man. It's a lot of fun. This is a great week, and it's the last time that they'll play the Red River as Big 12 members, which, it'll be cool. So,
yeah, neither one of us are sad about that, are we? So.
Not at all. Not at all.
All right, man.
All right.
We'll talk at you later.
Thanks, bud.